Three, two, one. Welcome to the Brooklyn Podcast, episode 9, with yours truly, Anthony Puccio, and my co-host, Colin Helwig. Colin, the Nets with 2 losses to the Knicks. They got a 1-point victory over the Hornets since we last recorded. They are 6-9 through 15 games. Are they sabotaging the tank? How are you feeling?
I'm going to sound like such a hypocrite right now because I told everybody, like, yo, if you're worried about the tank, then you're absolutely tweaking. Like, no, I'm an absolute sucker. Like, I'm definitely slightly concerned. I feel like when you lose to teams like the Hornets, those are the ones you're competing to be, like, in the lottery with. The Hornets probably have a better team than the Nets do, at least on paper. Didn't look that way the other night, but nonetheless, it makes you think about it when you lose those kinds of games. And I know I'm going to be thinking about it tomorrow when the Nets play the Sixers who have 2 wins. So it's definitely crept into the back of the mind. You know, what do you think?
It's weird with the Knicks games. Those are games that you kind of like. It's a double-edged sword. You're hoping that you beat them because you have their pick, but you're also, if you're on the tank, then you're hoping that you lose every game possible. So that was a little bit strange. The Hornets game, I think you know my stance. I don't believe in tanking. I don't like losing on purpose. I was hoping they pulled that one out last night, and they
Really?
did.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm watching these games, and I'm hoping that I get to watch competitive basketball and maybe some basketball into late April. I know these guys aren't going to win a championship, but it's tough for me, and I
That's
guess I
fair.
guess when I see Cam Johnson scoring 34 points, that's when I draw the line. Or like the Dorian
Sure.
Finney-Smiths or the Dennis Schroeders. That's what I'm kinda like, "All right, what are we doing here? We're not developing guys. We're doing what we did last year, basically."
Mhm.
So, I'm somewhere again, like, that's
Watching
kinda when I draw the line.
watching Ace Bailey highlights from last night, I'm not gonna pretend like that's not part of that feeling either. Like, wow. If you haven't seen those highlights yet, go watch them. That kid's something else.
Do you think that he has a shot at surpassing Cooper Flagg as the number 1 pick in the draft?
No, just because I feel like there's not going to be an opportunity to compare them to each other where one could surpass the other. Like we're just going to look at them both and see, wow, this kid is special. And there's just not going to be an opportunity where it's like, like in an MVP race, a lot of times it's like, oh, did this guy's like they're playing different competition. One is in the ACC, one is in the Big Ten. Or Rutgers is in the Big Ten. Yeah. There's,
Yeah.
yeah. I just don't see it in college. I feel like we stick with our original determination of what guys are more so in that regard, but that's just me. How about you?
I feel like the hype around Cooper Flagg, I mean, I watched some highlights from his first game. He looked really good, even though he completely folded in the final minute of that game.
Yeah.
Um,
See, I
he
haven't
does
watched him yet. I've only seen the highlights.
same, and it's hard to make that assessment off of highlights. But granted, he looks like the real deal, and he has that hype, like that Blake Griffin hype coming out of college. Like that's what
Hmm.
it feels like. Like he's set in stone, number one.
Yeah.
Uh,
Special.
but yeah, but people mentioned this with Scoot Henderson when he was like, they were like, maybe he's the most talented player in the draft, and obviously that hasn't been the case.
I think that was just people trying to be like, oh, let me be different here. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's just me.
This is a live stream, and we want to give a shout out to T Rex, who says that he thinks that
Yo,
Ace Bailey will be a better pro than Cooper Flag.
I'm down with that. I would like the one that we get to be the one that is the better pro. That is my scalding hot take.
Well, we'll find that out. I do want to stick on this topic of tanking, and like I mentioned, Cam Johnson scoring 34 points. He's playing fantastic this year. A lot of their veterans are playing very, very well, and I don't think that they're 6 or 9. It's not that they're outrageous and they're not popping off the page with how good they are, but they're good enough. They're middle of the pack. In the context of Cam Johnson scoring 34 and these vets really turning up, do you feel like the Nets are doing the right thing, or do you feel like they're actually screwing up when they should be tanking and losing games?
I mean, they're never gonna lose games on purpose. You know what I mean? Like the players are gonna go out to play basketball. Like they're not gonna like half-ass it. They're not James Harden against the Sacramento Kings. I do think it makes, like I said this beforehand before the season started. Cam Johnson needed to drive his trade value up. Like he's getting paid a pretty penny right now, and he had a
Yeah,
lot of injuries last year. Like he actually his shooting He's shooting a career high field goal percentage right now. His 3-point percentage is better, but it's very similar to last year. But his collective field goal percentage is better, and he's doing
Yeah.
way more to create his own shot where they're throwing the ball in the post, and he's creating. Obviously, that's not how you want every possession to end because he's still not the most polished, like offensive shot creating kind of guy, but he's flashed the ability to do that. Like he's very much on the arc that to a lesser extent, but like Mikal Bridges was on when he first came to Brooklyn. And it was like, we're going to look for you to create for yourself. And it's something that you never had the opportunity to do in Phoenix. Now we're going to see if you can do this. And he's kind of shown that he can definitely at least do it more than we ever thought he could so far in these past couple games.
Do you think that they're doing the right thing by so you're saying that you feel like they're doing the right thing by driving his trade value up?
Yeah, it's I know I just said like I'm a little bit worried, but I think that's just me like worrying. Like I still think that you can always tank super super hard, January through April and like get there if you really want to. And that's after the trade deadline, so it would work out.
Right. We're only 15 games in. It
Mhm.
does feel like okay, like they they chose a direction. They obviously wanted to rebuild after not only just the McHale trade, but after trading for their own picks. That was really the determining factor in the direction they're going.
Correct. Yeah.
They have to drive trade value up for these guys that they plan on trading to championship contenders, but they also want to develop young players and kind of like lose, but also build an identity. Like I don't want to say that this is a limbo, but it's like a weird
It's like
mix.
trying to put on a fitted sheet. You go to tie it down one corner, it pulls the other one at the opposite end off. Like
Right,
you can't
right,
do them all at once. I think is this there are certain things you like you can't trade guys past the trade deadline. So let's hit on the side of it that let's boost these veterans up in the beginning part of it. You can lose games at any point of the year. So it's
yeah.
more advantageous if you want to try to hit all those sides than to trade your guys after or to tank after the end of the season or towards the end of the season. Excuse me.
Right, right, right. And in the context of actually establishing an identity, and Jordy Fernandez is a head coach trying to find stability here. I think they've done a fantastic job at that. Uh, those are the things that you just can't, you don't just find, you're not able to just, acquire and suddenly it's there. But
Yeah.
they clearly have something going for them right now where they are locked into whatever it is that he's preaching. I love that side of the Nets. Something that he said after the game against the Hornets, like, and I tweeted this, like, it seems like every game the Nets are getting into like a little scrap. Like last game, it was Ben Simmons, which was
Mhm.
outrageous. It happened 2 or 3 times, and I was cracking up
Yeah.
on my couch, and I'm sitting here and saying these guys are getting into a fight or a scrap every single game. And then Jordy after the game was asked about it, and he says, "Yeah, I don't want these guys to fight, but I'm proud of them for having that identity, that bringing that Brooklyn grit back." So 15 games in, it's a weird like the consensus that I'm getting from Nets fans is very again divided. Like you have some heads saying that they're really happy to watch a fun, competitive team, which is what Joe Tsai always wanted. He said, like, I just want a
Yeah.
fun, competitive team that's going to be out here playing hard, making our fans proud. But then you have a bunch of other fans on X, on Bluesky, whatever it is, saying, Pooch, we are fumbling the bag. Like we are losing it. So it's a weird time in Nets world. I don't think it's a bad time, but it's definitely a weird time because we're on the trajectory of where we were last year, and that's middle of the pack.
Yeah.
So
And it's such a fantastic draft that there's more pressure than there has been in years to that
right,
if you're going to tank than to do it correctly. So that's a big part of it.
right. So would you say that you're happy 15 games in?
Oh man, I feel like I'm at a therapy session. Yeah, no. I'll still say that because I'll make the same point that I said 2 weeks ago. You can keep there's still enough traction out in front where you can be competitive and build those trade values up and still really lose if you have to. I kind of put the target on. I said, like, I feel like a lot of teams for the good teams, the NBA, they use Christmas as the parameter for it to determine what the actual good teams are. Like, how good is your team? That's kind of like everyone's kind of eased into it at that point. I feel like there's no reason why it can't go the other way. So let's give it another
Yeah.
month. If they're still like winning like every third game, maybe there's some area for concern. But we'll see. We'll see how good Ace Bailey plays and how good Cooper Flag plays and how much it actually stresses me out as the weeks go by.
67 games left, plenty of time to lose games and trade veterans. if that offers any solace to
Yes,
Nets
sir.
fans. But while we're in the process of speaking about this team right now and really honing in on development, establishing an identity, and somebody that has to obviously, been a very polarizing player. We've mentioned this and we've discussed this several times. Sam Amick of the New York Times mentions that Cam Thomas could be on the trade market. What do you make of that?
I think people don't understand the definition of the word available all the time. Like, I'm available right now if Apple called Nets Daily and said, "Hey, like, we wanna take Colin from you, and, like, we'll give you, like, a $300 billion and make him our CEO." Yeah, I'm totally available for that. Like, there were no teams mentioned that were talking about offers for him. There was no mentioning of any sort of parameters of a package, which means nothing in regard to that has been said. And everyone's available on a rebuilding team. Like I said, the same thing last week when we were trying to assess the McHale trade. If someone
Yeah,
came to the Nets and said, "Hey, I got 6 more first round picks for you," yeah, like it's so easy to tweet something out and to, like, if you're Sam Amick and, like, you want to get a scoop, and, like, I'm not accusing him of being clickbaiting, but in those words, like, you can talk to someone and say, yeah, if someone gave us seven first round picks, then I'd trade Cam Thomas for him. That by definition fits the word available. You know what he's available for, but he is available. And then you can post that and that's your scoop. So like you can't read into it too much when someone's available does not mean trading there. He is on the trade block there trying to trade him. I think we need to put more money into media leaders. Wow. Here I am
yeah.
talking about the education system studying. We need to put more education into maybe just literacy. I don't know. People don't seem to understand what the word available means and how vague it really is.
It's the truth. It's the truth. And I think, look, we're in early November, late November, and we're digging out stories here.
Yeah.
I agree with you. We discussed this on the last one. Nobody on a rebuilding team should be untouchable unless you're Victor Wembanyama or somewhere along the line of that. But the optics of how of Cam Thomas and the contract situation and how it was reported, yes, they didn't come to an agreement on a rookie extension. It doesn't mean they don't want to keep him long term, and it doesn't mean that he wants to not be here long term. And to flip it, who's to say that Cam Thomas didn't look at these past couple of years the way that he was treated and say, like, you know what? No, let me prove it to you this season and show you that I'm worth that contract, right?
Mhm.
So there's those factors coming into play here. The thing that people with this report are completely disregarding that they didn't do during the Kyrie and KD era is understand the influence of Joe Tsai. And Bob Windrum, Net Income, came on the show and explained to us how much Joe Tsai truly loves Cam Thomas. So much to the point where he had to have a sit down with Jacques Vaughn last year to tell him to play him.
Yeah.
So if we're not going to move the goalposts from KD and Kyrie to now where we are today in terms of Joe Tsai's influence on this team. So if he loves Cam Thomas as much as that we know he does, I don't see why they would be in a rush to trade him. He's 23 years old. They're trying
Mhm.
to develop him. They're trying to not lose games, but they're trying to, be that team that kind of competes but loses at
Yeah.
the end of hard fought ones. None of it makes sense to me. I don't think Cam Thomas is getting traded. I think we could debunk that completely because none of it truly makes any fucking sense.
Yes.
Excuse my language, but like it doesn't make any sense at all. At that point, also, Colin, like I'm fired up about this because for the last 2 years, all I've been hearing is that Cam Thomas has no value. He's a shot chucker on a bad team, and suddenly he's worth something. Like, why would Sean Marks in his right mind be like, yeah, I'm going to trade Cam Thomas for a second round pick? The way that people have made it sound like he's just a shot chucker on a bad team apparently. But now
Mhm.
Sam Amick comes out with the New York Times and says that Cam Thomas is being dangled around the trade block. And what? Like now he's valuable. 15 games into the season, averaging 25 a game. It makes no freaking sense. I put zero stock into this. I debunk it. It's all bullshit. I'm sorry, with all
I
respect
I
to the writer.
I concur
I,
100%.
again, that is no disrespect to the reporter, to the actual report itself. It's hard to it's
He
it's
got
not
the
that he's
scoop. I have no doubt that he talked to
right,
someone and said and got some sort of a notion that he is available, whether it was
right,
someone in the Nets front office or whether it was someone on the Houston Rockets front office. But I bet you it was like, yeah, if someone gave us a king's ransom for him, yeah, he's available, something like that. Like it is the word available is vague. Available could be anything. Like there was no price. It's you're right. We've been over this.
right,
It's
right.
crap.
And look, I don't again, I wanna reiterate this, like, I don't wanna put any journalists down, especially during these times, like, the last thing I wanna do is put journalists down, like,
Mm,
I am not coming at Sam, like, he is a fantastic reporter who has great sources, as we know, as credible as they could be, but like you said, available is a very, very vague word, and in this context, like, I think people really, really, uh, as usual on social media, made this something more than it needs to be. Cam Thomas didn't play last night. He had lower back tightness, and I don't think that helped either. Um, the day that there's a trade speculation, and one of the most major newspaper outlets he's sitting the night of, and Jordy didn't really have an answer other than saying like sometime during the Knicks game that he was feeling that pain.
mm.
It's just that like
He's probable for tomorrow.
yeah, let's I think hold our horses, for lack of a better term. But again, I want to reiterate, like I don't want to come at journalists, especially during this time, because that is the last thing that we need. But guys, I don't think that Cam Thomas is on the trade block unless Sean Marks gets an offer that he cannot refuse.
Bingo.
So we have our bi-weekly pick watch column.
Hmm.
We got to tune in here. You want me to run through it?
Go for it.
Here we go. So we got the Knicks, number 23. Phoenix or Houston? It's the worst pick out of the 2 and OKC, correct? Or is it just them 2?
I forget where OKC comes in now. I know if it landed today, it would be who did I put in there? It would be Houston, I believe, because I think Houston now is up past Phoenix in the standing, so we would get Houston's pick.
Alright. So after losing to the Knicks twice and the Knicks improving their record of going above 500, they're at 23. You got Phoenix or Houston. Houston in this context at number 25. Milwaukee is the team that we're watching. Nets fans are hoping they fall out of the top 4, but don't fall too much further than 5. They're at number 9 right now, which for the Nets, they're licking their chops with that. I mean, all
Yes.
things considered. News came out that Chris Middleton will be coming back sometime soon,
Hmm.
but I don't know if he's coming into that door and saving this team. But I could be completely wrong.
Yeah. No, I want to talk about the Bucks briefly because I know we really dug into the Knicks last time, and I look at the Milwaukee Bucks right now, and they are exactly what the Brooklyn Nets looked like to me in 2022.
Yeah,
They traded James Harden in the middle of the season where they had these huge expectations, and they need Giannis, who is their KD, to just put on like Herculean performances for
yeah,
them to beat the Chicago Bulls. Like these teams that are like not good. Like they're starting to stack some wins, but it's taken like 50 balls from Giannis where they're just relying on this guy. And they
yeah,
have their depth is all older guys who are not athletic. That's exactly how that Nets team was, where they had Paul Millsap and like DeAndre Bembry coming off the bench and Blake Griffin who had lost a step. And, to top it all off, you have a guard who Hall of Famer, but like it's some nights he's like there and he's productive. Some nights he only scores like 14 points, with Dame Lillard, and that was exactly how Harden was. Obviously different players, but it seems so similar to me where it's just like they're starting to win games now, but it's not going to last, just like it didn't last for that Nets team. And it's like, oh, when is Kyrie coming back with the vaccine? Is he the
right.
savior? You're doing that, but you're looking at Chris Middleton, who is nowhere near the player Kyrie Irving was at that stage in Kyrie's career, probably even ever, if we're being honest with ourselves. But it's like I'm looking in the mirror.
Look in the mirror with that new haircut, and that take was fantastic,
If
Colin.
anyone
That
knows
was
if
that was
anyone knows
great.
any barbers, good barbers in Lower Manhattan, please send me a DM. Need help.
For those that can't watch this, Colin got a nice new haircut. He looks very
Sucks.
fantastic. But what a fantastic! I want to emphasize this. A fantastic comparison
Thank you, bro.
because we felt that. that whole 2022 season where it was draining watching the Nets and seeing like I was tired for Kevin Durant. I was tired for I don't even know who was coaching at that point. What it was still Steve Nash.
It
It
was
was
still
Jacques.
Steve. Yeah. Yeah.
Still Steve. I was exhausted for KD for the guys that were on the floor. Like you didn't know who was playing on what night. You never knew when that second star was coming back. And you're kind of holding on by a string. You're hearing trade rumors about KD at that time, and you're hearing trade rumors about Giannis during this time. That is so well put. A very interesting
I
parallel.
think the exact same thing is going to happen with Giannis happened with KD, where it's like, how could you not feel like you're on an island right now if you're Giannis? And that's what led to KD's trade, where he just didn't feel the team was good enough for him to compete. And I think Giannis is like a good guy. He's a professional. He'll wait till the season ends to request a trade. He'll do Milwaukee that solid. But if you could put money on it, I would put money on that. He requested trade this offseason.
I am totally with you. And again, like you mentioned Damian Lillard, like he didn't come here and save the day. They mortgaged a ton of picks on him and just to surround Giannis with these guys. They're not living up to the expectations. They don't have the flexibility to fix this,
Mm-mm.
right? So they won their championship. Giannis got his ring there, but it almost feels like one of those situations where you never overstay your welcome too long, or else you'll never be welcome to stay again. It feels like
Yeah.
they're hitting that point. They're 4-1 in their last five, and it's kind of funny, like that little run that they made should never happen. Giannis's foot was on the line before they hit that game winner, but you know that's
Yeah.
just the
So
NBA
to
these
bring it
days.
back to the Nets, though, I do think that pick is going to fall nicely for them. Giannis won't ask out this year. It'll be the summer, so that pick won't go to the Pelicans. It won't be top four, but I
Yeah,
could see it being around like 15, 16, where they're like a first round exit or like they lose in the plan or something like that.
yeah, yeah. And moving on to the Nets pick, they have right now they're at number 15, middle of the pack. Again, I don't want to put too much stock into this. I don't want to get myself crazy. I don't want to get you crazy again with your new haircut over there. Uh, but I had tweeted the other day that like people like just this is where the picks are falling, and people are like, well, the ping pong balls, ping pong balls. I
Mhm.
understand that, and we got 67 games left in the season. So for the Brooklyn viewers and listeners, don't put too much stock into this. We're just having some fun with it.
Bingo.
So, Colin, other than me, what are you thankful for in Nets world as we go into Thanksgiving season?
I'm thankful that we just brought it up that it's an NBA lottery and not just the worst team gets the best pick. It automatically
Yeah,
builds in a thing where you can like it makes you not have to pull your hair out after every loss because you could do the work and lose 100 games and have the first overall pick and or be loaded for the first overall pick and not get it. And it's the same thing on the other side of it where it's like the Nets losing this game or like that game, obviously it helps their odds, but at the end of the day, that's not what is going to be the ultimate like decider. So there's built-in less pressure. Like we started this episode talking about how it's like, oh, how worried are you? You can really only worry so much when you're competing in terms of stacking losses for positioning for odds and probability versus just like you lose, you get it. You know what I mean? So I
yeah.
that is what I'm thankful for at this point in the season with all we're talking about is draft positioning and should we worried or not. But the more obvious one though, and then I'll let you cook after this is Jordy Fernandez. I think you said it. We were in this position last year where we were kind of just treading water. Nets were trying to win games. Like it was obviously you were really like shooting for it. It was a different vibe because they were trying to win games more. I mean, you know what I mean. But they were
Yeah.
going that way. But through it all, I just did not feel like Jock Vaughn had the chops to be a head coach. I wrote that. I remember at the beginning of the year, what's your primary concern with this team? I was like, great guy, good locker room guy. Just does not seem like he has the chops in terms of game plan and strategy and his rotations to be a head coach. I feel that way 100% with Jordy Fernandez. He's been the best part of the season so far.
So Collins, Nets Thanksgiving thankful wishes are the new NBA lottery system that they instilled a couple of years ago, and Jordy Fernandez.
Bingo. What do you got for me, Pooch?
I'll have a little bit of dinner of that, my friend.
Cheers.
Um, Jordy was going to be one of my answers, but I'll take a different route. I am the site manager at Nets Daily, and I get to work with fantastic people like yourself, Bob Windrum, Lucas Kaplan, um, Brian Florentine, Jordan Green, Shara Taylor. We have Scott Mitchell in Long Island. I don't want to miss anybody's name, but at Nets Daily, we provide the most comprehensive coverage for the Brooklyn Nets and have done so since that website was established in 2005. And I couldn't be any more proud and thankful for the people that are there and putting this work in. We know that this industry is extremely tough. It's not one that you get paid a lot of money for. It's not as glorifying as people make it out to be. I know it's a blessing and a dream to be able to cover sports and sometimes your favorite team, but when you're hustling and it's late at night and you ain't making a lot of money to do it, it's tough. And you got to wake up the next day really early to go to a job that might not pay you a lot of money, but you need it to pay the bills. Um, I am very thankful for all of you guys for the Nets Daily crew. Um, this Brooklyn Nets team, they don't have a lot of beat writers covering them. Newspapers aren't covering them. They don't have that allure to them. They don't have superstars. They're the little brother team compared to the Knicks, but they really are kind of like a small market team. And they don't have a lot of local reporters covering them. So to see you guys, you and Lucas especially, at those games hustling your asses off and doing what you guys do, I couldn't thank you all enough. And I will say, like again, like during the climate of where we are today with journalism and misinformation and people getting laid off left and right, like journalism is turned into, I don't like, sensationalism isn't even the right word. Like it's just like if you ain't writing clickbait or you aren't yelling on a screen and it's a bunch of bullshit and hot takes, uh, you aren't getting hired and you aren't going to get a job in this business. And it's a really, really sad place to be. So I want to thank you guys. I want to thank Nets Daily, and I do want to thank the Nets fan base who are always supportive. They get absolutely crapped on every single year,
Every
uh,
year.
every day. Um, I have Knicks fans in my inboxes, and honestly, I rock with Knicks fans. Like they're cool. We're all New Yorkers, but like, it's tough being a Nets fan sometimes, especially when they're bad. But like, Nets fans are, if they're a small bunch, if that's what you want to call it, they're a damn loyal bunch. And this year, it's been really, really nice to see, instead of us fighting about Mikal Bridges and Cam Thomas and fire Shaw Marks and fire this, fire that. It's like, you know what? No, we get to sit back, enjoy some good hoops. Whether you agree with the tank, whether you don't, it's a new era in Brooklyn, and it's just the fans are just so loyal. They're so committed, and honestly, Colin, like knowing them for so long, like they're such good people.
Yeah.
Like they really make you feel like you're a part of a family. So
Mhm.
again, I'm thankful for Nets Daily, the coverage that you guys do, the integrity that you guys have in journalism and covering this team, and I'm thankful for the fan base.
Yeah, no, and I want to echo that about Nets Daily. Echo that back to you. Same with the fan base. Speaking of the fans, I know we're running a little short on time here. We got I don't know. We got, long story short, we got some unreal mailbag questions today. I don't know if we'll be able to get into all of them, but for anyone listening, appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys interacting with the pod. I know we just hit over 500 followers on Twitter. It's a little win, but it's a big one. So shout out to you guys for that. And I don't know if we're gonna have time for questions, but if we don't get to them,
So
we will get to them next week.
let's take two of these and we'll make them
All right.
quick.
So we will get to.
I'm
We will get
stretching
to.
this. Let's get it through. I'm gonna say mailbag time just to get a little bit exciting over here. T-Rex, thanks for rocking with us during the stream. For the other people that did come in, come out, we appreciate you guys joining us live on playback.tv. We want to thank Playback. We want to thank SB Nation for giving us this platform. Anthony Roman wants to know, why do people think that tanking is such a lock? Look at how many draft picks have gone wrong. Colin, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't think he was our best player last year, but the narrative was that Mikal Bridges was our best player last year, and we traded him for a boatload of picks. Anytime you do that, it's just like, all right, you're tanking. Like you are prioritizing the long term over the short term. that's exactly what that move is. So it's understandable that it's the top of everyone's mind. I do think there have been instances where you expect a team to tank and they don't. Like look at Chris Paul when the Thunder gutted their team and sent away Russell Westbrook, the heart of that franchise. Everyone expected them not to tank, and they went to the playoffs. They took James Harden and Russell Westbrook to. Excuse me, I said the heart of Thunder was Chris Paul. Heart of the Thunder was Russell Westbrook. God, I just fucked that up. But they traded him away. Anyway, they found a way. They gave the Rockets a run for the money. Like, I don't think the Nets have anyone good on their team right now as good as Chris Paul was for that team. But like, there are instances of it. But it's just what you do. You prioritize the long term over the short. This is where we're at.
Yeah, and I'm gonna echo everything you said. It's you trade your on paper or better yet, by buzz your best player, and then you trade for your own picks back.
Yeah,
Like you
that's
made
a
a
big part of it
concerted effort.
too.
Yeah, you made a concerted effort to trade for your picks back. You are literally telling everybody, and let's not forget, like as good as Jordy has been, this is his first year as a head coach.
hmm
Like it doesn't always work out the way that it has through 15 games for most teams.
Yeah.
So you trade for your own picks. You hire a brand new head coach who's only been an assistant coach in this NBA. Like, what else did you expect? And Anthony, I understand like why you're asking why it's such a lock, but I guess the way that the Nets operate, especially under Sean Marks and Joe Tsai, is that they're going to compete, and that's what it's going to be. They're not going to be like the Washington Wizards. They're not going to be like if you want to throw any other teams at me, the Thunder for all these years, the Sixers for the years past during the process. That's just not going to be the Nets. It's not going to be it, even if it compromises Cooper Flagger, Ace Bailey.
Yeah. No, you're right. Totally agree.
Like it, love it, hate it, whatever it might be. That's what it is. So, Colin, we're going to hit one more question, but for the people that did ask questions, I want to give them a shout out and let them know we are going to get to these as much as we can. We are hopping on Eric Slater's Believe in Nets podcast on Tuesday, so maybe we'll transfer some of those questions over. But I want to give a shout out to depressed New York fan Gerard himself, Aces, JA 107, the real JDJ, for bringing the heat with the questions. We will get to you guys when we get a moment. But I'm going to answer the one, the only illegitimate son of Joe Tsai, Jerry Tsai, baby. He's asking, what do you make out of odds makers for players like Jimmy Butler, plus 250, favorite to go to the Nets? Giannis Antetokounmpo, plus 210, a favorite to go to the Nets. Joel Embiid, a plus 350 to go to the Nets.
I want to say that like because this is a whole nother conversation Nets Twitter is happening. I really hope that that does not happen. Like let's just try for once, just for once to be like a normal franchise and like build the normal way. Let's just see how it works out. But like no, I mean, I don't know. I assume those odds are coming from like Bovada. I feel like those odds are out there to catch people who are like doing like insider trading with betting. Cause like who is like throwing like a bag on like someone that's signing with a team unless you like know something. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
so I guess my answer is I would not read much into them at all. I think anytime you have a major like city that is seen as a destination city to live in and they have draft picks, you're gonna be one of the top 5, top 10 teams in terms of those odds. Like that's really half of it. And it helps that they've won a couple games, and so there you can at least start to spin the narrative that it's like, oh, maybe they could whip this into something. But I, the odds are funny to me, just like thinking about like why, like I don't know. What do you think, Pooch?
It's a strange world with betting. We've gotten into that before. Like you said, like the insider trading idea. Look, we had a major news break on this show, one of the first episode 3 or 4, where we had Bob come on and he reported that Jimmy Butler interest was real, and then the next day the odds got incrementally better about Jimmy Butler going to the Brooklyn Nets. So sometimes, they put stock so much into 1 or 2 reports, maybe hoping that people are going to slip and just throw money into there. I think it's a money grab, in my opinion. Like that's just the way I look at it.
Yeah,
I I do believe to a certain extent you do follow where the money is going, but only to a certain degree, and especially not now. Like, look, the Nets are in New York City. They'll always be an attractive team. They have flexibility. They have a good coach. They are establishing something, but right now is not the time for any three of those players. So I'm not buying. I'm not betting. I'm not investing in any of that.
Yeah.
The same way I'm not betting into Cam Thomas getting traded.
Yes. Yes.
What
What
are
did you
the odds on that, Jerry Sy? We love you, Jerry. We love you.
Yeah.
So on that note, Colin, you have any last words?
I'm good, bro. You said it all. Thankful for you guys. Thankful for the Brooklyn Nets organization, for letting me come to games, write about them, talk to the players, stuff like that. Thankful for the fans. Thankful for you, Pooch, for holding it down. Thankful for my next barber when I do find him. We will figure it out. I will look better the next time you guys see me. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Yes, and right back at you, Colin. I'm very thankful for you and all the work that you do for the Brooklyn, for Nets Daily, and you as a person and you as a whole. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family and your loved ones. Again, I want to reiterate this that we're going to be on Believe in Nets podcast with Eric Slater on Tuesday. We will let you guys know what time that will be taking place on X or whatever else it might be. You can follow us at the Brooklyn Pod on X, on Instagram, on TikTok. And if you want to shoot us any more mailbag questions or whatever it might be, we're at the Brooklyn Pod at gmail.com. So this wraps up episode 9. Colin Helwig, Nets fans, everybody, happy Thanksgiving to all of you. And as I always say, it's been real. It's been nice. In other words, it's been real nice. Until next time.
Peace out, everybody.